No again. I rather suspect that if I mention Operation Babylon, which took place in 1981, nobody will have the faintest idea what I'm talking about. What about Operation Orchard in 2007? No? When the United States and Britain invaded Iraq in 2003, they found famously that there were no weapons of mass destruction. There would have been, though, if Israel had not attacked and destroyed the nuclear reactor which Iraq was running at Osirak in 1981. The Iraqis, you see, were planning to produce nuclear weapons and thought that if they just went ahead and did so quietly without making a fuss, nobody would notice what they were doing until they actually had viable warheads. Just try and imagine Iraq armed with nuclear weapons under Saddam Hussein. Handy things to put on Scud missiles, say. Or try and imagine the Islamic State with nuclear weapons. It's not an appetizing prospect, is it? Luckily for the world, the Mossad was keeping an eye on what was happening, and Menachem Begin, the then Prime Minister, ordered the Israeli Air Force to destroy the reactor and put an end to the nuclear weapons program. On June 7th, 1981, this was duly done, and that was the end of Iraq's ambitions in that field. This established the Begin Doctrine, which is, by the way, still in force. In a nutshell, this states that no country in the Middle East will ever be allowed by Israel to acquire nuclear weapons. On September the 6th, 2007, Israel did precisely the same thing as they had done in Iraq to a reactor in Syria. Syria had been working with North Korean scientists to develop nuclear weapons, and the Israelis simply went in and destroyed the program and bombed the reactor. Stop just for a moment and consider what would have happened when Damascus fell a short while ago if Syria had been in possession of nuclear weapons. Does anybody think it would be a good idea for the Islamists who seized power to be armed with such weapons? Israel is currently preparing to do the same thing to the Iranian nuclear program, and an attack is likely there any time in the next few months. Although these measures have all been motivated purely by self-interest on the part of Israel, it can hardly be doubted that this has been of inestimable benefit to our own country and also America. Try and imagine just for a moment the Islamic State which took power in Iraq and Syria a few years ago getting their hands on nuclear missiles. Ask yourself what would happen if nuclear weapons had been used in the Syrian civil war or during the Gulf War. Try and think what an Islamist attack on the West involving nuclear weapons might look like. Israel has for over 40 years been protecting the West against this prospect, ensuring that there will be no nuclear proliferation in the Middle East. They do this not by means of worthless treaties and debates at the United Nations, but by bombing any nuclear reactors which are being used as part of a weapons program. We all of us owe Israel a huge debt of gratitude for these actions. In the description to this video I give links to a few pieces about this subject.